On page 93, we have our summary of all the different rules that we've learned so far. So remember the acronym that I taught you, which was PMAN, Power Man. Let's just do something. So if we have a power to a power, we'll multiply. If we have actually multiplication, we will add our exponents. And if we add our, if we have addition, then we'll do nothing with our exponents because they're not like terms. If we have division, we'll subtract our exponents. So a step down on everything. So let's look at some of these examples down here below. The first one, we have a power to a power. So again, using PEMDAS, we'll do this first. And so we'll multiply 3 times 4 and get x to the 12th times x over x to the 7th. Now, with multiplication, we add our exponents. I understood 1 right there. So we have x to the 13th divided by x to the 7th. And with division, we subtract and we'll move to the place of the heavier exponent, which is 13. So I'm going to move up and do 13 minus 7 and get x to the 6th power for my final answer. So subtract 13 minus 7. Example B, I have a negative exponent. So recall that when we have that we will, so where that was here, we'll find the reciprocal of our fraction inside. So I do not want that 5 to the p. I want that in the denominator. And I'm going to put the q in the numerator, so I kind of move up there. So I want to find the reciprocal of this, q to the top, 5p to the 5th denominator, and then raise this to the positive 2 power. Now I have a quotient to the power, so I'm going to raise every piece of this to the 2nd power. So I have q to the 2nd, I have 5 to the 2nd, and I have p to the 8th to the 2nd. So I'm going to power to a power multiply and get 16. So then that will simplify to q to the 2nd divided by 25p to the 16. 5 times 5 is 25. So note when I was doing this, I was using both the quotient to a power and the product to a power as well as a combination of both of these things that I was doing. C, this time I don't have any powers to powers, but I do have some negative exponents. So let's change all of our negative exponents to positive. So I'm going to start here. My 4 to the negative 1 will become 4 to the positive 1. My 4 to the negative 3 will become 4 to the positive 3. X to the negative 3 drops to the denominator and becomes positive 3. X squared stays where it is because it is positive, so it stays in its spot. Y is going to stay in its spot. And my y to the negative 6 is going to move up to the numerator and become positive. So now we can combine our common bases. So here I have 4 to the 3rd over 4 to the 1, so I'm going to subtract and get 4 to the 3 minus 1, which is 4 squared. And it will move to the numerator where my heavier exponent is. My x to the 3rd times x to the 2nd, they're both in the same spot. So since I'm multiplying, I'm going to add their exponents and get x to the 5th. And my y's both in the numerator, so I'm going to be multiplying. So I will add my exponents. 1 plus 6 is going to be y to the 7th. So 4 times 4 is 16. Y to the 7th divided by x to the 5th. Example D, we have a quotient to a power. So I'm going to bring that in. So recall that whenever I have a negative, it's like having negative 1 to the 3rd power. I have 2 to the 3rd power. X to the 3rd to the 3rd power is x to the 9th. And then y to the 3rd power. And that's going to be divided by x to the 3rd power and y to the negative 1 to the 3rd power, so that'd be y. And I will multiply and get negative 3. All right, so now I have negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, which is negative, so I'll just put him right there. 2 to the third is an 8. For my x's, I have, going to circle these right there. I want to combine my bases of x. The heavier exponent is 9, so I will move them to the numerator and subtract. So get 9 minus 3 is 6. And then for my y's, I have a negative exponent, so I still need to take care of that. I hadn't done that yet. So it's going to pop up to the numerator. This y to the third is going to stay where it is, and this y to the negative 3 is going to pop up to the numerator and then become a positive 3. And so I am now got for an answer negative, I don't have any denominator, so negative 8 x to the 6th. And now I will multiply, add my exponents. 3 plus 3 is 6, and that's my final answer there. So why don't we just stop and we'll save E and F to complete in class and talk about together. See you then.